But let's start in college. We're going to do our 3 and out. 3 big topics from the college football weekend, and we start in Ames, Iowa. And the only way to describe Texas's performance is humiliating. Don't laugh just because you like Iowa State.
You know, here's the funniest thing about that, and we talked about this on Friday's show with Ryan Nani.
Yes.
There's no conceivable reason Iowa State should have won that game. That locker room is a disaster. Paul Rhodes is fighting for his job. By all accounts, the players were not cool with him firing offensive coordinator Mark Mangino or the manner in which he did it. And yet, and the defense is terrible. Terrible. And yet, here we are.
This is as humiliating a loss as the Texas Longhorns have suffered in decades. Iowa State is bad.
And I love Iowa State.
They're bad.
They're very bad.
And Texas went in there and completely no-showed. Complete no-show.
Yeah.
The offense was terrible against a bad Iowa State defense.
Yep.
The defense, I don't think, was miserable, but the problem is that the offense never put them in a position to succeed. And if you really want to get down to it, this is as inexcusable a loss as you can find in Texas college football. I mean, in the University of Texas's history for quite a while. This is a miserable loss.
Yeah.
And it only makes the win over Oklahoma even more. It's clear now that the win
more perplexing.
It's clear now that the win over Oklahoma was a fluke. It was a fluke. And if they play that game 100 times, Oklahoma wins 99. And Texas rolled the dice and got it on the right time.
But that's the beauty of the Red River rivalry.
The offensive line for Texas is terrible. The wide receivers, it doesn't matter because the quarterbacks can't make the throws that they need. The offense is so stagnant. 204 yards against Iowa State. 204 yards. Let me look this up real quick because I'm interested in seeing what their previous best was. Okay. Iowa State. Let's see. Let's see, because it is as bad as you're going to find. Let's see. Before that, their lowest was 288 yards allowed to Kansas.
Is that good?
Kansas outgained Texas by 84 yards.
It's so bad.
And I'm a guy who has been a Charlie Strong believer, but it's wavering.
Ooh.
It's wavering.
I don't know if it's wavering, but that's a huge screw-up. Huge. I still think he can get it done. But I will say this. For the first time, watching Houston this weekend, pummel Vanderbilt, I sat there and went, well, you think Texas wouldn't mind having that quick of a turnaround? I mean.
Let's move on. Let's move on because I can't. It's so.
You can't even.
I can't
right
wrap
now?
my mind around what
even.
Texas did on Saturday night.
Sure.
The other headlines. Meanwhile, Texas's arch rival A&M enjoyed a nice weekend.
It was nice.
The Kyler
nice
Murray
is the right word.
The Kyler Murray era has begun in College Station. He gets a win in his first start as the Aggies signal caller, and I thought he was good. I thought that the best thing that he did was add an element on the ground. Throwing the ball, he was fine, but I don't think that I still don't think that he's quite ready as a passer to be that guy. You look at what he did through the air, 20 of 28, really nice, really nice completion percentage, but a lot of those, they simplified the offense big time for him. And it was a lot of short passes. It was a lot of, they were saying we're not going to take any shots deep.
Yeah.
He did the most of his damage on the ground, but let's give credit to he ran for 156 yards. Let's give credit to the offensive line, which did a great job.
Offensive line did a great job, and I would say more than the numbers, more than anything else, if you watched the game, what impressed you, and no surprise to Allen fans here or anyone who's watched in the last 3 years, in just great poise, smart decision-making. Every run ended with a perfect slide. I mean, ran out of bounds. He managed the game extremely well against a team they should beat.
And I mentioned this on Twitter, and people came after me, which is weird. People come after
that
me
never
on Twitter?
happens.
What? Weird.
Never happens.
I mentioned that Kyler Murray looks tiny out there.
He is.
He does.
He's tiny.
Because he's tiny.
He's an incredible player, but he's a small player.
He's a small player, and that is why that ability to slide is so important, because any big hit could be the last.
Yeah.
For the season, because he is going to be, everyone on the field is going to be, every one of the defenders is going to be bigger than him.
But there's certainly an element to the game too where watching him, his size, his elusiveness, there's definitely, it's hard to get a good hit on him. So the slides are important, but at the same time, tough to nail him.
I mentioned this before, that the one thing that I've always admired about Kyler Murray is that somebody taught him early on to take a hit on his terms. And he never gets squared up. You never saw him get squared up against Allen. He'd turn into it. The only other guy I've ever seen do that on that level was Braylon Addison when he was at Fort Bend Hightower. Right. He did that too, where he would kind of turn into it and make sure that he didn't take the big hit. Yeah. And that's what Kyler Murray does. I was super impressed with his poise. I'm not sure South Carolina's a great team.
They're not.
But that's a win. And a win is a win is a win. And you look at the rest, look at their schedule going forward. There's no reason to think that A&M can't rattle off a few more, because they've got, let's see, Auburn. It'll be interesting. Auburn's a weird team right now.
Auburn is a weird team.
They're going to beat Western Carolina. They're going to beat Vanderbilt. Then they're going to go to LSU. Yeah. Right now they're probably if you were to project out, you're saying win, loss.
I read about this on the site, but why do you think Sumlin was so non-committal about the quarterback going forward right after the game?
Because I think. Honestly, I think that he is terrified that somebody's going to transfer, and that he's trying his best to hold it all together and say, no, you've got your chance to win it. You've got your chance to win it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that whoever is not the starter next year is going to be gone. It's going to be gone. I mean, he's trying to hold it together, and I can appreciate that from a CEO perspective.
Sure, but that's but at the same time, and maybe this just sort of reinforces your point, but that's the era we're in now. I don't start, I transfer. For a lot of these top 4-star, 5-star quarterbacks especially, okay, this isn't going to work. You got your guy, I'm out of here. I don't know. Why prolong the inevitable? It just seems like to me, they're going to they put all their apples in the Murray basket at this point.
The other headline from across the state, the Houston Cougars, man, just keep on trucking. That team is a freight train going full bore right now. Now, Vanderbilt, we mentioned this on Friday, is not a good team. They're not a good team, but Houston did what good teams do to bad teams, and they throttled them. It was the defense was fabulous, as it should be against a really bad offense. They forced 4 turnovers, and that's where they win. Is that they've got this ball hawking defense that it's not. You're going to get yards against Houston, and you might even get points, but you're not. But they're going to come up with that big play, and they hold them to 185 total yards. Hey, surprise, surprise! Greg Ward was great. He took care of the ball. 221 yards, only 1 touchdown. But then the other thing that's so impressive is that they ran the ball really well. They ran the ball for 150 yards, and they committed to the run. And against a good Vanderbilt defense, I was impressed by that.
That was the other thing. Our very own Thomas Bingham wrote about the game and how the Cougar offense wasn't as high-flying as it normally is. Well, it's a really good Vanderbilt defense, and they still ended up beating them 34-0. So I think that's your salty test right there, and I think they passed it with flying colors.
They did. They got a pick 6 from William Jackson. They did enough. They ran the ball enough. They threw the ball enough. They did everything enough in a way. And you know what? I bet if you talk to Tom Herman, he'd say, I thought we played okay. I don't
Yeah.
think we played great. I think
Yeah.
our defense played well, but I thought our offense was fair, and that's okay.
But that's where they're at. That's a pretty great place to be at right now for the Cougars.
And now they're careening headlong into a game at home against Cincinnati this Saturday, which they'll probably win, and then it's Memphis.
Yep.
And then it's Memphis, and if you get past Memphis with at UConn and then home to Navy, now home to Navy will be a bit tricky, but you're looking at a realistic shot at running the table.
Yep.
But it's one foot in front of the other right now, and right now every one of those feet are landing in the right place.
Yeah.
I'll also tell you, Houston fans, get used to hearing Tom Herman's name come up for a lot of
For
coaching
every
jobs.
job. Every job.
All he's
Because
doing,
here it comes.
His cost of doing business is going up, up, up,
Yep.
up, up.